looking for reasons to be positive about Julen Lopetegui. I think there's been so much negativity around it. I've been pretty negative myself, moaning about David Moyes and moaning about Chris Sutton and Paul Merson. Look, some of the moans are warranted. In fact, I would suggest that a lot of the moans are warranted. It's been a crappy old 6 months, at least, at West Ham. Obviously, we had the high of the Conference League final. Brilliant. There was a point where we started the season relatively well, but the last 6 months have been pretty crap, and I think it's sort of tailed off the season into a finish that a lot of us predicted, particularly given the size of the squad, the January transfer window. Since January, it's been pretty crap, and results have sort of borne that out. But look, quite frankly, I'm sick of moaning, and I can't be looking ahead to next season with trepidation and dread. And I look at Lopetegui and I think, okay, if he's going to be as terrible as a lot of people are saying, I'm going to wait for him to be terrible rather than deciding that he is going to be before it's actually happened. So, I welcome him to the club. I really do. I welcome the appointment. It's pointless me spending months saying, oh, he's not the one I would have chosen. I think we've made that clear already. So I guess welcome Lopetegui. So what I'm looking for is reasons to be cheerful and reasons to be excited about his appointment. There's no doubt about it, the club are on something of a charm offensive. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. The club at the moment are certainly trying to extol the virtues of David Moyes and the job he's done. They want him to get a good send-off. But at the same time, I think they're trying to manage expectations of a manager coming in who, let's be fair, has been subject to a petition of fans that don't want him to come in. So I think, first of all, I've been trying to mitigate some of the reasons why I don't want him in. So I think it's a negative style of football. Do you know what? I'm going to have to see it for myself, truth be known. There appears to be two different ways of thinking about it. I think the first one is the way he had to be quite pragmatic at Wolves, and then which is slightly different to maybe the way that he played with Spain, where he was undefeated as Spain boss, the way he played at Sevilla. It's really hard to cut through the truth because the people that don't want him to be appointed sort of belittle everything he did, be it at Sevilla, be it in Portugal, be it at Spain, at Real Madrid, where his record was absolutely terrible. And the people that do think he's brilliant say he did a brilliant job everywhere he's been. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but I don't think we've got this terrible or awful coach that not everybody, that some people seem to think that he might be. I think I often look for clues at this time, and I think the messaging is the first one. It's two bits of messaging, which when you piece them together, looks pretty damn good, actually. So the first one is an interview that Freddie Potts has done with the Evening Standard, and he's been doing a couple of other interviews as well. If you read those interviews, you very quickly come to the conclusion that people at West Ham have been told there's a clean slate next season. That there's a clean slate. That's a really good thing. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that Lopetegui is going to promote loads of youth players. At the moment, we just don't know. The people that don't want him to be our manager will absolutely say he's got a terrible record with youth. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to wait for him to prove that. However, I'm of no doubt that Freddie Potts and a few of the other youth players have been told they'll get a chance to impress. I still think we've got a problem with the training ground, by the way. That doesn't help that the development squad are not the same training grounds as the first team. I wonder if that's going to be helped. But anyway, I thought that messaging was quite good. Also, the messaging that's come from the club in the last 2 or 3 days has been very much that Flynn Downs will be back for pre-season training. Now, I'm not going to try and blow that news up to anything more than it is. But I tell you what that is an indicator of, that Flynn Downs is going to get a chance. And if we listen to the way that perhaps some people suggest Lopetegui plays, Flynn Downs is someone that can sort of retain possession. He might warm to him. And certainly you would consider that he might be more likely to thrive under Lopetegui than somebody like Thomas Souček would, as Gio and Frankie were talking about the other day. So I think that's interesting. But when you start piecing it together, the messaging's quite clear. Everyone gets a chance. But you know what? I like that. I would expect everyone to say that, but I like that. The other thing that's come out really is this Max Kilman stuff. Now, we were led to believe for some time that West Ham have been after Max Kilman for some time, but we were led to believe that it was driven by David Moyes. It seems to have been driven actually more by Tim Steighton. which again, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe I'm getting 5, but it makes me believe that possibly there was an influence from Lopetegui, who was obviously, Kilman was very, very good under Lopetegui. Very good indeed. And maybe, just maybe, that was being swayed by him back then. And it's quite possible that that's why there might have been a reticence to sign him and only push through, whatever, the Calvin Phillips transfer. Again, a lot of this has got to be guesswork. So you're piecing together these stories from what people are saying, from rumours that you hear, that snippets that the club are giving out. I'll tell you what is very, very clear, though. And this is, and you'll know, if you watch this channel regularly, I've been really consistent on this because I heard this from a really good source 2 or 3 months ago. That Lopetegui presented a presentation and a vision of how he thought West Ham could do under him. Lopetegui's been preparing for this West Ham project for a few months. He knows the sort of stuff about West Ham that would put a TalkSport or Sky Sports presenter to shame. He's been studying. He knows everything about us. He's very studious. He told his backroom team, he's going to bring all his backroom team with him, to get prepared to study. He already lives over here. This guy is ready to go. As you sort of get the impression that he's even got his first training sessions all mapped out. He knows what he wants. He knows who he wants to keep at West Ham. He knows who he doesn't want at West Ham, which I know that completely contradicts everybody gets a clean slate. I think he means more youngsters, stuff like that. I think there are going to be players. Look, myself and Gio are going to be covering this. We're going to do a video series in a couple of weeks on this stuff anyway. Who will thrive under Lopetegui? Who will perhaps not do so well? I think I'm not giving any spoilers away if I were to suggest that maybe, just maybe, Angelo Ogbonna possibly won't feature. I think it's safe to say that because of his age and stuff like that. So I think there's not a case where everyone gets a chance, but I think there are people who maybe possibly might have not been involved before. Flynn Downs, you mentioned. Of course, Maxwell Cornet would be another one. These people are going to get a chance. And I think that is... I'm quite buoyed by that. I am. I think that's quite positive. Before I get on to my final points, can I please point you in the direction of Match Bingo, who are today's video sponsor. It is hard to praise Match Bingo more than we already have. I stopped counting at 40 winners. Well, I'm doing 40 winners for Hammers Chat subscribers. By the way, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up now, by the way. You want to make sure you do that. Yes, please. We love that. I lost count. I stopped counting. Once it sort of got into the high 40s, I stopped counting. We are looking at over 50 winners who have won cash from this app. What is Match Bingo? Well, Match Bingo combines sport and bingo. So, for instance, the next game coming up, West Ham's next game, which of course is against Luton, is £2 a play. And what you do is you get yourself a bingo card. And on this bingo card, there's 15 things, 3 lines of 5. And what you've got to do is match 5 things. It might be a throw-in. It could be a missed shot, eh? We'll be all right at that, won't we? It could be a card. It could be a substitution. So many people have won on this. It's absolutely amazing. I've actually won myself as well, believe it or not. But if you don't want to play the pay-to-play games, then there are free games. You have bingos on there. You have all the darts games have been free on there recently. People are winning prizes on these free games. The big bonanza is, believe it or not, it's not sport at all. It's the Eurovision Song Contest. It's coming up. I think it's at this weekend. Just go. Even if you do nothing else, use the link below. Download the Match Bingo app and just play. Just play it, because the top prize is £1,000 on that for nothing. You winning cash for doing nothing, literally nothing. But while you're there, go and have some of the other games. It's a really, really good app. It is a betting app, even though the stakes are very low, like £2 per card. It's a very, very low yield in terms of, not a low yield, a very low stake, but it's still betting. So it's 18 and above. Check out the link below. Really good. People are winning these prizes. Match Bingo. Give it a look. Anyway, back onto Lopetegui. I'm very, very buoyed by that as well. I think the other thing that has really pleased me is the messaging that seems to be coming out from Tim Stuyton. Look, Tim Stuyton has got his chosen journalists. It's obvious who they are. They're the first ones to leak all the Stuyton stuff. They're the people that Stuyton gives pictures to and all that sort of thing when he's on the jet with his arm around the latest signing. They are very much peddling the story that Steiten not only has signed off on Lopetegui, but Lopetegui is the head coach. Steiten is still is doing recruitment. I think it's pretty clear that what they have at the moment is, if you believe everything, and here's what I think are the three most believable rumours at the moment. I believe the Wilfried Zaha one, as I covered on the video earlier. I believe that. That is clearly David Sullivan. But again, I think everyone else has signed off on it as a freebie. I don't know if it's a freebie. Low cost, high wages. You get what I'm saying. The Wesley one over in Brazil, clearly Steiten, so he gets his man there. And then someone like Max Kilman coming in, Lopetegui gets his man. So I think you've got a situation where maybe the three of them might all understand one another and work in harmony. But certainly the messaging coming out from Steiten is that it's harmonious. Because when it wasn't, and it wasn't with Moyes, you had very different stories coming out. I get the feeling that there's a lot of... There have been a lot of meetings, there have been a lot of conversations. It's already been done. You've not got a guy coming in who's going to have to find his feet. There have been numerous meetings between Sullivan, Steiten and Lopetegui. And as I say, he's ready to hit the ground running. He really is. The other thing that I've noticed from him is when I've looked at his interviews and how Lopetegui is with different people, looking at him with his players, looking at him with interviewers. I think he absolutely has the ability to schmooze everybody. So I think he's totally schmoozed Sullivan. I think he's totally schmoozed Steiten. I think he's probably a prodigiously hard worker as well. And I think he's done... A lot of the talk has been about West Ham doing their due diligence on Lopetegui. Make no mistake about it, he has done his due diligence on us. I don't think he's one of the world's best coaches, but I tell you what, I don't think he's one of the worst. I really don't, reading between the lines. I think it's going to be really hard as well to do as badly as David Moyes has done in the last sort of 6 months at West Ham. And I think if he can inject a little bit of positivity into the fan base, if we can get us playing football, if we can get some good signings that will excite us, and I've got to say, Wilfried Zaha and that Wesley, I can't remember. Is it West? It's like Casanova. We would have to call him Casanova, wouldn't we? That would be exciting. There's no doubt about that. You know, we love players that do tricks and can dribble with a ball and present a goal threat and whatnot. And you know, these guys would seem to be precisely that. So I'm as I'm looking for reasons to be positive, I'm starting to find them. I really am. You've got to, as I've said on numerous times, we have to allow him to succeed or fail by what he does, his actual actions, rather than the perceptions. So I'm sort of warming to the fact. I also had I'd been thinking about it a little bit and listening to Charlie and Cal's video over on the main channel yesterday. Made a really good point, which was maybe the difference, maybe the step. And by the way, Nicholas Thornton also, he messaged me and he made this point to me a few days ago as well. Maybe the step between David Moyes and Ruben Amorim was such a big one. Maybe you need this interim step. And I'm not going to suggest for a moment that the club have been that cerebral about it. To actually go from a defensive manager, I know Moyes couldn't manage a defence come the end, of course. But the difference between a defensive manager and someone that plays all-expansive attacking football, maybe that's a sort of bit of a bridge too far, given the nature of the squad. Actually, maybe someone that plays a bit defensive football but protects the ball a little bit more and is a little bit more adventurous. Maybe that's a transition. Maybe that makes sense. The more I think about it, I think, okay, yeah, it won't be such a culture shock to the club. Maybe I'm wrong. Be really, really interesting. I'll tell you something though. I'll tell you something that's changed in my mindset. I'm looking forward to the transfer window. I'm looking forward to it. And I wasn't before. I was dreading it actually. Dreading it. I seem to have got over the hangover of going out of Europe pretty damn quickly. And I think we needed, there were so many of us. I'm not going to speak for everyone. I know there were a lot of people that would have liked to have kept David Moyes. But for me personally, I would have found that quite stale. It would have been hard for me to get motivated, I think. I think when we would have got to next season, I would have felt okay. But I think in terms of the transfer window, I feel like I needed a a clean break, if you know what I mean. I need to get behind a new ethos, a new set of players coming in. Even look, whether you were Moyes in, Moyes out, you would all agree that there are so many old players, so many players that are leaving. We need a rebuild. And I think, for me, I just wasn't keen to see David Moyes do that rebuild. I want to see someone else do it. Maybe a few fresh ideas. I'm up for it. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. Anyway, as ever, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will catch up with you probably tomorrow to talk about Lucas Paquetá. Maybe. I might change my mind.